creative output in the sci-fi genre tends to have a darker approach regarding its subjects all over the board, unrelated to its subgenre. That is expected considering the themes and instances these works put in their spotlight. If the story in question is set in future, we see all the dystopian prophecies of today as the reality of the fictional feature in the story. If the sci-fi element is derived from space exploration and lands far away, we get to see the horrors beyond human comprehension at full scale. It is normal to have a bleak concept for the future and space, too, for that matter, considering both of these concepts are the great unknowns from our current standpoint. The real problem, I observe, is the context of these stories approaching these themes. The sense of powerlessness we feel while experiencing these stories. Being a small gear in a process that doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. The fight over scraps in an already destroyed world. Not being the deciding factor because there is nothing crucial left to decide for anyway. For example, think about the hit 2020 video game Cyberpunk 2077. The fate of our main character, V, is doomed from the start. Because the world we are in was doomed far before we even existed. It is no surprise their fate is the same. Or think about Denis Villeneuve's brilliant sequel to the first film, Blade Runner 2049. Our main character, Officer K, is not in the pursuit of changing the course of the doomed world he is in. He is simply striving for his survival and trying to find the joy in the artificial puddles of meaning he is dealt with. To be fair, this kind of approach is not something to be against at or bad in any kind of way. Even an argument can be made that it is better on the count of realism, because of the bleak trajectory of the world we are observing currently. If you subscribe to that kind of pessimistic perspective anyway, even though I personally choose not to. These works of fiction should not be evaluated detached from the general psyche of society, detached from the real expectations we have for the future. The set projections are expectably bleak, as are these works. This state shouldn't come as a surprise because of all the problems we have today. Income inequality, environmental issues, never-ending baseless proxy wars and the pain that comes with them, and the rapid expansion of technology like artificial intelligence that will only worsen these set problems. It is a lot to wrestle with, and admittedly our odds as a society doesn't seem too favorable. The never-stopping stream of information caused by the tools of mass communication never skips a beat when it comes to reminding us of these realities too. So the current situation we are in is one of being over-aware but inevitably apathetic. One that feels like a prison. That's why our works of fiction are bleak and pessimistic. And that's okay. But the question we don't ask is, are these assumptions destiny? Is it set in stone that humanity is doomed to a dark future? It is normal to feel like it is, but I don't think that is for sure. My counter perspective is based on nothing other than our past itself. Our current state is not the first instance of crisis in the history of our species. To give an example, we should look at the Gilded Age of America and what followed it. I'm not a historian and this video is not about the Gilded Age itself, but it is hard not to point out the parallels between that period of time and the period of time we are in today. If you were living in the Gilded Age as a regular person, presumably you would feel crushed against the industrialists backed by state itself, hitting the mines to no end and still struggling to get by. No workers' rights, no labor regulations, no nothing. The government's response to any kind of resistance being violence. It will be difficult to imagine preserving the hope for a better future. Regardless, there was a turn in the stream of these events. Eventually, there was a pushback from the working class. There was a reform resulting in positive change in all these existing circumstances. The rapid advancement of technology and the crushingly negative reflections of it on the ordinary man. It was the Industrial Revolution then, And it is the AI revolution now. The more important thing for this video is what followed and what might follow. A response from the everyman, and that response causing a betterment of the conditions of the world in general. But what causes this said response? Didn't I just go on and on about us as a species being hopeless and apathetic? Well, none of those are wrong. We can be like that sometimes. The key word is sometimes. Writing humanity off as just that is the error with this logic. We might as well be resilient, hopeful, and outright fight for ourselves. You can name the driving force for this with many names. You can call it the indomitable human spirit, or you can say this is our untapped potential or whatever. You can call it whatever you want. But for me, the existence of this concept is undeniable, and it is what should keep us hopeful and away from giving up altogether. We talked enough about the pessimistic approach in the sci-fi genre and how it correlates with us. You might think that this is the only way works from this genre can be relatable to the people of today. Even I could think that up until recently, but two pieces of media proved otherwise. As you probably guessed, I am talking about Project Hail Mary and Pragmata. One movie and one video game that were received with popular and critical acclaim. Both of them are very successful in their respective spaces. Hail Mary follows a reluctant science teacher who tries to save the world from impending doom through a space odyssey, accompanied by a space rock. Pragmata is about another unlikely hero who is forced to save the moon from an invasion by an evil AI, again accompanied by an unlikely companion, an android in the image of a little girl, Diana. It can be argued that these threats are as critical as the circumstances we perceived in our previous examples, if they were to come true. Both of our heroes are up against forces far stronger than them. The deciding factor is the point in time our stories take place in their respective contexts. Pragmata and Hail Mary take place prior to the end of the bigger story. They put a spotlight on the struggle to block the impending devastation. These are the stories of a heroic fight fueled by the indomitable human spirit we talked about. Even though the heroes are the unlikely ones, even though they are unsure and outright unwilling at times, they push through in the name of the greater good. And certain points in these stories display the authentic piece of the human experience that makes it worth living and fight for. The nature of the companions, Rocky and Diana not being human, makes them foreign to these human experiences, and their appreciation of a fraction of these experiences fleshes out their value to audience even more. Diana's fascination with the REMs and Rocky's amazement with the screen displays that shows the images from world, and are examples of these instances. These pieces of media don't claim to be a commentary on real problems or the answer to complicated and delicate issues we face in the current state of the world. They tap into a much more and raw primary element of our existence. These stories display what we are at our core, at least what we want to believe we are. This pivot from the more common pessimistic approach in the genre felt like a much needed breath of fresh air for me, and seemingly for wider audiences. It is hard to say if Pragmata and Hail Mary will have the same staying power as our previous examples. Like I previously stated, these works aren't serious to the same degree as Blade Runner and Cyberpunk. Regardless of their seriousness and possible staying power though, I believe the response they received is no coincidence. These works have fleshed out the hope and the inner goodness of humanity in a time period that feels like these things have become nothing but a fantasy. In short, Hail Mary and Pragmata feel like a glimpse of what we are and what we are capable of when we forgot it. And I believe there's a value to that. I am Efe, thank you for watching.